We have started the mission in the air. Please increase the throttle lever and use trim to level the aircraft. Keep the current heading, and maintain 700 to 800 kilometers per hour and a 5,000 meters altitude. Being a 1950s aircraft design, the engine of the MiG-21 bis is quite easy to flame out if the aircraft is handled carelessly. Because of this, the aircraft includes an air start mechanism that allows the pilot to restart the engine at altitudes of up to 12,000 meters. An engine oxygen supply system is fitted to provide reliable fuel combustion when starting the engine at high altitudes. It employs a 2-liter oxygen bottle which allows for up to 5 air start attempts. The engine oxygen supply is self-contained and is not connected to the pilot's oxygen supply in any way. On this mission, we will learn how to perform an emergency restart of the MiG-21 engine in the air, after a flameout has occurred. The training syllabus includes, describe the relight procedure, and force an engine flameout, to practice the engine relight procedure. Please note that the mission assumes the use of the English cockpit and uses that language for the cockpit element's name. Total mission time is around 10 minutes. Press spacebar to begin. An engine flameout can happen for many reasons: handling the throttle too abruptly, perform negative G maneuvers for too long, or flying with an excessive angle of attack. While flying the MiG-21, you will notice that a flameout occurs if any of these symptoms appear: a peculiar bang sound, or a change of the normal engine sound, an abrupt decrease of the engine RPM and jet pipe temperature, or the cone position gauge might deflect its needle to its extreme right position. As soon as you notice a flameout, perform the following steps as quickly as possible. Move the throttle fully back, to its min position. Disengage the autopilot, if it was enabled, by pressing the large red button on the flight stick. Establish a nose-down flight attitude if altitude allows, as the engine relight system needs an airspeed of at least 450 km per hour to be successful. If your altitude is less than 3,000 meters, be ready to eject from the aircraft in case the relight fails. Press spacebar to continue. Once you have performed the steps of the flameout procedure, throttle to minimum, disengage autopilot, and set a nose-down attitude, proceed with the engine relight procedure. We will first describe the procedure. Do not perform any action yet, as our engine is still running normally. Ensure your airspeed is within the relight limits, over 450 km per hour and less than Mach 0.9 if at less than 8,000 meters, or over 550 km per hour and less than Mach 0.9 if between 8,000 to 10,000 meters. If over the maximum altitude, then keep descending until reaching 10,000 meters. Turn on the engine air start switch, on the left cockpit wall. You can use the E keybind to flip this switch. Confirm the engine starter is active. The red engine start light should illuminate on the warning panel. The N1 RPM will start to rise. When it reaches 30%, move the throttle forward to any position up to military power, but do not activate the afterburner. Once the engine accelerates past idle RPM, 60 to 65%, and you feel that the engine is now operating normally, turn off the engine air start switch. Do not leave the switch on or you will consume all of the engine oxygen, which will preclude further air start attempts. Press spacebar once you are ready to practice these procedures. We will now practice the prior procedures, so we need to induce an engine flameout. There are several ways to force the engine into a flameout, but the easiest is just flying inverted for a few seconds. Flying inverted subjects the aircraft to a -1 g negative acceleration, and the MiG-21 fuel system can only provide fuel on this condition for a few seconds, 15 seconds when flying at military power, 5 seconds when using the afterburner, and 3 seconds when the emergency afterburner is being used. After a negative G maneuver, the pilot should fly 30 seconds at positive G, because of the time needed to refill the inverted flight fuel tank. Let's do it now. Roll the aircraft left or right until you attain an inverted attitude. Good, now push the flight stick forward a bit, to avoid losing altitude. The engine has flamed out. Immediately pull the throttle to its minimum position, and press the autopilot disengage button. Roll the aircraft back to an upside attitude, but let the nose drop down a bit to maintain airspeed. Do not let it go below 450 km per hour, steepen the dive if necessary. Check that airspeed and altitude are within Relight parameters and then turn on the engine air restart switch. The red engine start light should illuminate on the warning panel, indicating that the engine starter is active. Monitor the N1 RPM, it will start to rise. At 30% N1 RPM, move the throttle forward to its mid-travel. The engine start light has gone out, indicating that idle RPM has been attained. Pull the flight stick to raise the aircraft nose up to level flight, to avoid losing more altitude. At the same time, increase throttle up to military power. Turn off the engine air restart switch. Good, this completes the engine relight procedure. If you want, you can repeat this practice on your own, by rolling inverted, perform the flame out procedure, followed by the engine relight. Press spacebar to end the training. You have successfully completed this emergency engine relight training mission for the MiG-21. We have covered the following aspects: flame out procedure and engine relight procedure. Press spacebar to exit the mission.